When it comes to cooking meals at home during the work week, I want dishes that are craveable, nourishing, and require as little time and effort as possible. Today, I'm gonna show you the system that I've developed to accomplish just that. First, I'll show you how to prep a fridge full of versatile, flavorful building blocks in just 60 minutes. Then I'll show you how to turn those building blocks into a bunch of craveable lunches and dinners that you can eat throughout your work week. To get started on the prep, I'll drop a big pot of water on the stove and bring it up to a boil to cook some noodles. While that comes up, I'll grab 4 to 5 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs. Please don't sub in breasts, by the way. The cooking method that I'm going to be using for these will make them mucho dried out. Next, I'll flip these thighs into a pot, then cover them with 1 box of store-bought chicken stock. That's about 900 grams in total, or 3 to 4 cups. Behind the stock in goes a strong pinch of salt and then a strong pinch of black pepper. I'll just nudge the meat real quick to make sure it's all submerged in the stock. Then I'll move this pot over to the stove and bring it up to a simmer. 3 to 4 minutes later, I've got some action going on here, so I'll turn the heat down to medium-low, pop on a lid, and simmer these thighs for 45 to 55 minutes. While that cooks, I'll grab my rice cooker and get some carbs into the mix. Into that, I'll add 600 grams of medium grain calrose rice, 800 grams of water, and a strong pinch of salt. I like medium grain rice like Botan for meal prep because it stales very slowly in the refrigerator and it reheats really well. It's super plump and tender, even like 6 days later. Next, out of the fridge, I'll grab 2 bunches of broccoli raab, 4 bell peppers, 2 white onions, 1 red onion, and some garlic, and cut them all down. I'll start by cutting off the stem end from the broccoli raab here. Then I'll chop that down into very rough 1-inch pieces. I chose raab for my main vegetable this week because it's delicious but also versatile. It can play well in Chinese dishes, Italian dishes, French, Japanese, or Korean. It goes with pretty much all food. If you don't like raab or you can't get it, I'd say sub in kale. And once I've got both bunches of this raab chopped down, I'll move on to my peppers. I've got 4 large red bells here, and to prep them up, I'll slice off the sidewalls while leaving the wet ribby stuff attached to the core. And just in case I don't get all that pith, I'll make sure to come back and zip that out with my knife. I really hate that white stuff in the middle. It's bitter and makes peppers soggy when you saute them. Behind the peppers, I'll take one of my 2 white onions and slice it down into 1/4-inch strips that are roughly the same size as the peppers. And once those 2 things are sliced up, I'll keep them together and then grab my 1 red onion and slice it just like I did for that last white onion. Keep this separate from the pepper and white onions that we just cut though, because this onion will have a different destiny. Next, to round out the prep, I'll take my 2nd white onion and give it a chunky medium to small dice. Then I'll grab 4 to 5 garlic cloves and give those a smash through my garlic press. In total, cutting down the broccoli, the peppers, the onions, and the garlic should only take about 5 to 10 minutes. Once all my knife work's done, I'll head back over to the stove. At this point, my pasta water is up to a full boil, so I'll add in 3 strong grips of salt to season it up. Then in goes 2 pounds of spaghetti, which, as it turns out, is a pretty versatile noodle. As you'll see later in this video, spaghetti can be a pretty good sub for rice or wheat noodles in many different Asian recipes. Now, I'll just set a quick 10-minute timer to cook this pasta, then I'll make one of the most versatile food items in this video: pickled red onions. To make them, I'll combine 200 grams of water with 200 grams of white distilled vinegar and then 40 grams of sugar and 4 grams of salt. Next, I'll drop this pickle brine on the stove top and bring it up to a boil. And once it's ripping, I'll add in the red onions that I just sliced and then push those into the brine and then take them off the heat to cool down for about 1 hour. Once they're cooled, you can see that they're beautifully pink, fully pickled, and ready to bring crunchy acidity anywhere it's needed, which is everywhere, basically. Back at the stove, my spaghetti's been cooking for 10 minutes now, so I'll snatch out a couple of noodles to give them a taste for doneness. We're not really going to be cooking these in pasta water like you normally would for a dried pasta dish, so they need to be cooked all the way, meaning not crunchy or al dente. Now, I'll use tongs to lift this pasta out of the water, drain it really, really well, then to save dishes, I'll throw it right into the container that I'm going to be using to store it in the refrigerator. But Bri, won't these noodles overcook and get stuck together if you cool them down this way? Well, no. That hasn't been my experience at all. To keep them from sticking, I hit them with a long ziggy of olive oil, and then I toss them a few times to let out the heat, and everything is fine. I'll give these noodles 10 minutes to cool down, then I'll throw them into the fridge to hang out and cool off while I finish cooking everything else. Next, I'll take my chopped broccoli raab and drop it into the water that I just used to cook the pasta. The starchiness of this water doesn't make any impact on the quality of the broccoli raab, and reusing it saves me the 20 minutes it would take for a fresh pot of water to come back up to a boil. And after 60 seconds, this raab is perfectly cooked. So I'll use my spider one more time to lift this broccoli out of the water, drain it well, and then drop it into a container that I've lined with 3 layers of paper towel. Okay, broccoli goes into the fridge to cool down, then I'll come back with some tongs and do a little toss on my pasta while it's still warm. This should release any heat that's built up on the bottom and will really help prevent sticking. At this point, I'm about 20 to 30 minutes into my prep, so now I need to cook some more meat. First, I'll get rid of my pasta water, then drop that same pot on the stove to reuse it and save on dishes. Once it's hot, I'll add in a long squiggle of olive oil, then 2 pounds of 85/15 ground beef. Next in goes some salt, then I'll use my meat smusher to break down this beef. My goal with this ground beef situation is to create something that tastes good on its own and also can be doctored up to carry other flavors easily. I first thought about making taco meat for this video, or maybe something that was shepherd's pie flavored, but those options were too one-dimensional, and in a given week I want a variety of different flavors. I don't want taco meat every day, basically. Now once this meat is crumbled down and starting to take on some deep browning underneath, I'll add in my diced white onion and minced garlic, then a strong pinch of salt, a touch more oil to get things sizzling again, and then I'll jump in and stir to combine and fry these onions with the beef for 5 to 10 minutes over medium heat. I don't want the onions to brown per se, I just want them to soften and get more aromatic. So keep your eye on the bottom of the pot and stir frequently. And after 5 to 10 more minutes, my oniony ground beef is looking utilitarian. Now I'll finish this with a strong pinch of salt and then some black pepper. You guys will just need to trust me on this beef. It doesn't look craveable yet, but it's going to enable some really fantastic meals later on. We'll get back to it. For now, I need to do something with those peppers and onions that we cut up a few minutes ago. To cook them, I'll grab a 12-inch non-stick pan, drop it on the stove, and then thank the makers of said pan over at Made In for sponsoring this video. Made In designs professional quality products for the home cook. And right now, if I had to go out and restock my entire kitchen with new pots and pans, I would buy Made In. And it's not just me who feels that way. Their kitchenware is also used in multiple 3 Michelin-starred restaurants. My favorite of all of Made In's products, though, is their stainless collection. It's made of a premium 5-ply stainless steel material, which sets it apart from the other pan brands out there. The 5 layers give that pan great heat retention and very even heating. The big 8-quart stock pot that I've been using throughout this video is invaluable in my kitchen for projects like making stock or boiling pasta. You've also seen me use their stainless steel fry pans a ton in past videos for things like making sauces and getting great sears on meat. The specific curvature of the pan's walls is made for getting a deep sear and easier flipping, and the rolled rim lets you pour your sauces and liquids without it spilling. So if you want to check out Made In's stainless collection and all of their other excellent cookware, use the link in my description and save some money on your next order. Back at the stove, I'll add in some olive oil, my peppers and onions, a strong pinch of salt, then I'll jump in and stir to get things cooking. I want to sizzle these peppers over pretty high heat because I want some blistering and light caramelization. That'll take about 5 to 8 minutes, so once I'm all stirred up here, I'll let these peppers sit in one place to catch some heat. On the other side of the stove, it's time to check on my chicken. It's been about 45 to 50 minutes since I started cooking it, and as you can see, the chicken pretty much falls apart when I grab it. That means it's nice and tendy. Next, I'll lift this chicken out of the broth and then move it over to my storage vessel. And to keep these thighs moisturized, I'm gonna scoop about a half cup of the broth and pour that over. Once these are lubed up, I'll grab 2 forks and then start to shred those down. I should also mention that the chicken broth that we cooked these thighs in is extremely flavorful, and you should definitely save it. This stuff would make a great starter for future chicken soup or anything that needs to taste more chickeny. That is seriously the chickeniest. And once I've got this chicken pulled apart a little bit, I'll check back on the peppers at the stove. At this point, they've taken on some blistering from the pan and they're about halfway cooked. I don't want to blister these too much though, because they'll have an overly dark flavor and they'll taste too sweet. So at this point, I'll kill the heat and tent the peppers with foil for 5 minutes to give them the steam finish. This way, the residual heat under the foil will soften the peppers with steam without over caramelizing them. The final results should be tender, but not limp, but also not crunchy. If you can get into this sweet spot, you're going to be a lot more stoked on peppers moving forward. Now I'll pop a lid on these things and then throw them in the fridge with the rest of my prepped up food. All in all, it took me about 62 minutes to make 12 to 15 pounds of versatile, tasty, prepared food. Now I'm going to show you the 8 best ideas that I have for how to use this stuff to make something really craveable for lunch or dinner in under 5 minutes. The first dish is chicken fajita taco. To make it, I'll drop a couple flour tortillas into a warmed up non-stick pan, and then about 25 to 30 seconds later, I'll snatch those out and keep them hot. Then in goes a few handfuls of shredded chicken and then a few grips of my pepper and onion mix. I'll give that a quick toss to heat everything through. And if you wanted a touch more Mexican flavor here, you could add in a little chili powder or cumin. And once I'm hot and sizzling here, I'll add my chicken and peppers to my flour tortillas. Then I'll top that with what I call Ranchero sauce. It's basically a 1-to-1 ratio of Duke's mayonnaise and chunky paste salsa stirred together. It tastes super good. Kind of like the stuff they serve with quesadillas at Taco Bell. Next, I'll top these tacos with some icy cold shredded lettuce and then some pickled red onions for sweet acidity. And that's a simple, tasty fajita-inspired taco that took me 3 minutes to put together. It's got some veggies and some protein to keep you healthy, and then a creamy sauce to make you feel kind of naughty. The next up is a sushi bowl. To make it, I'll put some rice, broccoli raab, and shredded chicken into a bowl and microwave it for 2 minutes. Once that's hot, I'll add in some shredded raw carrots. And to prep these, I just used my julienne peeler. It makes getting shredded vegetables super easy. This took me about 30 seconds. Next, I'll add in some thinly sliced cucumbers, then some pickled ginger. Or if you don't have access to that, pickled red onions would also be a very nice sub. Then in goes some crispy shredded seaweed or some thinly sliced nori, and then finally some spicy mayo. This is just sriracha mixed with Duke's mayo to taste. I know chicken isn't sushi, but this bowl tastes like a sushi meal. Seaweed, ginger, cucumber, spicy mayo, all the good stuff. Lauren and I eat this dish like once a week. Up next is a quick take on Greek chopped salad. To make it, I'll combine some chopped romaine in a bowl with diced cucumbers, sliced pepperoncinis, halved cherry tomatoes, some pickled red onions, or raw red onion is also cool. I'll also add in some chopped pepper and onion mix and 4 to 5 ounces of shredded chicken. Then to dress, I'll stir up and add in some simple Greek vinaigrette. This is 50 grams of white balsamic or champagne vinegar mixed with 125 grams of olive oil, 25 grams of grainy mustard, then salt, pepper, and dried oregano to taste. And then once everything's tossed up, I'll throw it into a bowl and top with a ton of crumbly, salty feta cheese. Greek salad is probably the best non-Caesar salad in my opinion, and this one is a good variation. Okay, the last chicken dish is a Mediterranean chicken pasta. For that, into a nonstick pan, I'll add a little bit of olive oil, then some chopped up peppers and onions, some chopped up raab, and then some chopped marinated artichokes. These are something that I keep in my pantry year round. Finally, a little bit of chopped garlic, then I'll give everything a quick toss in a saute to open up the garlic's flavor. Next, in goes a big grip of my blanched spaghetti, then I'll add in some shredded chicken, maybe 4 ounces in total. From there, I'll add in a splash of white vinegar or lemon juice to bring some acidity, then a 1/4 cup of water to steam the pasta and unify all of these flavors. I'll finish with 3 big sprinkles of grated Parmesan cheese, then over low heat, I'll give everything a quick toss to combine. To serve, I'll move this over to a bowl and top with even more grated Parmesan cheese. This dish is vegetable heavy, it's full of interesting flavors and textures, and it's fresh but delicious. Now for the beef. Next up is a burrito bowl. This time I'll start with a microwaved bowl of rice, peppers, mix, beef, and some beans that I pulled right out of the can. Next, I'll add in some shredded Mexi blend cheese, then some shredded lettuce, then some pickled red onions for color and acidity, and the sauce is simply store-bought chunky salsa. Or use that ranchero sauce that I showed you for the fajitas. This dish is like Chipotle, but way cheaper and way faster. This is another banger that I eat pretty much every week. Up next is something that is bibimbap-esque. I'll start with my 12-inch nonstick pan again and add in some beef and onion mix. Once that's hot, I'll add in about a 1/2 cup of store-bought Korean barbecue sauce. I like this Kevin's brand specifically because it's kind of low on sugar and I think it tastes good. From here, I'll just sizzle that down for about 2 to 3 minutes until the beef is glazed up and fully coated. Now into a bowl with warm rice and warm broccoli raab, I'll spoon in some of my seasoned beef, maybe 5 ounces in total. Then I'll top with some shredded raw carrots and some sliced raw cucumbers, just like I did for the sushi bowl. From there, I'll add in some chopped up kimchi to fill in the gap, and then finally a squeeze of some store-bought bibimbap sauce. If you don't have this, I would say sub in a little gochujang or sriracha. Either would work. Finally, I'll add a sunny side up egg on top to really make it look like bibimbap. And that's a healthy, high fiber, high protein bowl of food that's gonna make you feel happy when you eat it. Up next is my favorite dish of this entire video, and maybe of 2024 so far, chili crisp beef noodles. Start with a nonstick pan and add in 2 to 3 big spoons of chili crisp. I prefer this Lao Gama brand because it has some Szechuan flavor going on, but any chili crisp would work. Then in goes some chopped up broccoli raab and a big spoonful of my ground beef. Make sure it's nice and crumbled down for this dish, by the way. Next, I'll toss all that together and sizzle things up for about a minute or so. Then I'll add in a big handful of my noodles. From there, I'll toss that together to get things coated. Then to finish, I'll add in a 1/4 cup of water, a big spoonful of unsweetened, unsalted peanut butter, and then a few splashes of soy sauce. I'll bring everything up to a simmer now to soften the noodles. Then I'll toss with tongs to get everything whipped up into a creamy sauce. You guys, stir-fried noodles with peanut butter and chili crisp is something that you are probably missing out on right now. It's spicy, it's creamy, and it's just pure, unadulterated fun. Please try it. Okay, the last dish is a vegetarian one and an homage to a dish that I've cooked thousands of times as a line cook. It's called spaghetti salsa rosa. To make it, I'll add some olive oil into my nonstick pan with some chopped Calabrian chilies or chili flakes, then a tablespoon of tomato paste and about a 1/2 cup of my onion and pepper mix chopped finely. Next in goes 3 to 4 tablespoons of water and a couple big pads of butter. I'll just swirl that to emulsify the butter real quick, and once it's looking nice and creamy like this, I'll add in a handful of my spaghetti and then toss until the noodles are heated through and the peppers have become a creamy tomatoey sauce. Off heat, in goes a few handfuls of Parmesan cheese, then I'll toss one more time to gently melt that in. To serve, I'll spill this spaghetti out into a low bowl, then cover with a bunch more parm and some cracked black pepper. This dish is kind of like pasta pomodoro meets pasta vodka. It's meaty and smoky from the peppers and it's savory and sweet from the garlicky tomatoes. Let me know in the comments what dishes from this video you guys decided to make, and let me know what you thought of them. If you guys want to watch the first video in this series, then please click this link right here. That's how I cook 20 healthy meals in 60 minutes. Now, let's eat this thing.